Hey Jennifer, have you started decorating for Christmas yet?
Not yet. My daughter did put up some Thanksgiving decorations, but she's not ready for Christmas yet.
See, usually we wait till after Thanksgiving too, but with all the shit that's going on lately, I just said fuck it and went and bought a $400 artificial Christmas tree yesterday.
Oh no, do you normally do artificial?
No, it's my first year in 38 years. It's my first fake Christmas tree, and it's all thanks to Costco.
There you go. I don't like real trees. I'm always afraid. Have you seen the ticks and stuff that come on them?
No, but now I'm glad I don't have one.
Oh, I've seen some horror stories, so I'm always afraid. So good choice. Welcome to MILF.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Jennifer.
And we are two moms into literary freedom. So you've experienced bugs in your trees before?
Well, no, I do fake ones, but I've seen tons of videos of people who bring home trees and they're full of ticks. Or I've seen one with grasshoppers and spiders.
God, no.
After that, I was like, I'm good. I'm so happy to stay with artificial trees.
Well, there was the squirrel in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but that was because he took it from like a national forest.
Well, I don't know. They must not treat them or something before, I guess. Because it's
maybe
chemicals?
Yeah, maybe like these are the cut your own Christmas trees, because I know that there are places in the South that really have no business like cutting down a Christmas tree because it's just too hot.
Right.
And that's where you probably get a lot of bugs. But like if you're up north and you cut down a Christmas tree, like it's so cold, everything's got to be dead.
That's what you'd think, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You never know. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to find out. We live somewhere hot, so I'm good.
That's why I was like, if we live somewhere cold and we could go cut it down ourselves, maybe. But like, I'm sick of putting the lights on. I'm sick of like vacuuming the needles every day.
Oh, yeah.
And also like, it starts after like 3 or 4 weeks, it starts to smell like it's dead.
Right. Yeah, see?
And then you're like, oh, the season is dying. It's over.
And if you're like me, I wait till like January 30th to get rid of my tree, to take it down. So that won't work with a real tree.
Yeah. And we always leave, like we go visit Blake's family up north, and so he's always like, it's gonna catch on fire if we leave it.
Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, then he was like, we could leave it up all year. We could decorate it in January and just for President's Day and just put all the presidents' faces on there. I was like, fuck no, I'm not putting that guy's face on my tree.
Not this year. No. We're not doing that this year.
No. Oh, man. But yeah, then he went through every month of the year and talked about how we could theme it.
Okay, see, I'm on board with that. Because I love my Christmas trees.
So much work, though.
I know, but I love the idea of having like a Valentine's Day tree.
St. Patrick's
Day, Easter one. Oh, that sounds fun.
Then we got to August, and we're like, what would we do for August? He was like, school buses. Rulers. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's true. That would work.
Yeah, we're not doing that. It's a 7-foot tree, and it takes up a huge amount of space. It's pretty.
Yeah.
But, Christmas time, you're like, there's no extra space in our house.
No.
And then you get rid of it all in January, and you're like, oh my gosh, my house is so much bigger.
Right. Suddenly you have all this space.
Yeah. But yeah, January is going to be an interesting month because that's when it's going to be real. And we took a little break because, we're moms and life is busy and it's hard for us to record, on a routine basis. But then the election happened and we just needed some time.
Yeah, we needed to decompress a little and then jump back in and move on.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of things like to help me stay positive.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, we're just so overloaded with information, like on different social media platforms and news websites and, just all over the place. I don't remember where I saw this, but it was like, I guess it was on Instagram or something, but this lady was like, just, remember if you're feeling sad, like, look apathy in the face and say, not today, apathy. Like, you're not going to get me. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to try that because it is really easy to let apathy get to you. Just be like, oh, everything sucks or even more than it already did.
Yeah.
Not that things were good before.
Right.
But we were kind of hoping things would get better.
Yeah. We had a lot of hope. That was like the whole campaign is hope. I'm still angry, right? Mm-hmm. And my attitude is just fuck it. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, decorate for Christmas.
Right. Yeah. I have been buying books, and I'm just like, oh,
yeah.
I like it. I want it. I'm getting it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do I have money for it? Doesn't matter. I'm getting it.
I did that. I did that with a mushroom pillow.
Yeah.
It was at Target. It's only $15, and it's like a velvet mushroom pillow. It's got beads on it. I was like, I don't need this, but I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, I'm having like, what is that lady? The Marie Kondo.
Oh yeah.
Does it bring me joy?
All of it.
Fucking buying it.
But you know that within reason. Like I'm sure you're not like spending your life savings on mushroom pillows and books and stuff. Jennifer's like, well, maybe I am. But, you know, that does kind of bring me to something I do want to talk about is like, we essentially elected just another rich guy who is nominating a bunch of rich people.
Yeah.
So that the rich are just continuing to get richer. And here we are, you know, having this illusion of like ownership.
Right.
And really, it's hard for us to own anything like a house or a car. Like we're lucky enough that we own houses and cars, and by own we mean like we still pay interest to a bank.
Yeah.
But it's getting harder and harder, and I just feel so bad for like the 20-something-year-olds that are like, oh, I'll never be able to afford to buy a house or even a car, you know. And it's like we have this illusion of ownership, like. We can buy all the mushroom pillows in the world and think that we are owners of items, you know, or like how many different ice cream flavors are there, you know, and there's so many choices out there.
Options.
Right. But they're not the choices that we want. Like how many different choices do you have for healthcare?
Right.
Not as many choices as you have for fast food restaurants.
Right.
You know, and that's the world the society that we've always lived in since the 80s, because the conversation that I'm having with you has been taken from this guy, George Carlton. Have you heard of him?
Yes, I love him.
Okay, so it was a clip from the 80s, and he was essentially saying what I just said.
Right.
So I just ripped off George Carlton. But, like, to me, like, I just saw this clip. I'm sure I saw it, like, in 2016 when this fucking happened for the first time. But I forgot, and now I saw it again. And I'm like, damn, that happened in the 80s, and here we are still, like, dealing with this. And, like, nothing has gotten better.
Yeah, his videos always start popping up every time
this happens.
Yes. And he makes valid points.
Yeah.
Like, he was ahead of his time.
Yes. And there are a lot of people like that. Like, there's, I mean, I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But, like, people have been saying the same thing for a long time. And naysayers of this idea are going to say, oh, you know, that's socialism. Socialism is bad. Look at all the countries that have socialism. And it's not socialism. I mean, if there's a dictator,
right,
then it's different. But there's something called, and we've talked about this before, democratic socialism.
Right.
Which is where you have a democracy. And when people hear this, they're like, well, democratic is a bad word, you know, because, like, if you're a Republican, you think Democrats are evil. Right. And sex traffic children in pizza restaurants.
And the devil themselves.
Right,
you know?
and turn into a snake at night. Which literally people, a huge percentage of Republicans, like a surprising amount of people, thought that Obama turned into a snake at night.
And they vote. It's so terrifying.
There should be a survey. Do you believe that Obama turns into a snake at night? Yeah, okay, you cannot vote.
Okay, listen, on that note, my daughter was telling me she works at a store and people have been coming in and buying stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we can shop now because Trump is president.
What? Why couldn't they shop before? They didn't because they thought all the money went into Biden's pockets.
They think now that in their head, they're going to be lining their pockets with money thanks to Trump.
Poor people.
And I'm like, and my daughter's looking at them like, these people vote. And my daughter is like, I love her, but she's an airhead, you know?
Oh, I see. So they think that, like, oh, we can buy stuff because now with Trump as the president, we're going to be rich.
We're going to be rich, yeah. Or we're going to have money to spend.
Oh, my God.
And she's like, you know, he's not president yet, right?
Right. Like, you better save your money for when all these tariffs, if the tariff plan even happens, like, things are going to be so expensive.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And really, it's just one of those things where you just have to wait and see.
Right.
And thankfully, we're smart. I mean, I think we're pretty smart, right? And like, well, here we are buying books and mushroom pillows. Like, shit, we need to save our money too.
That's just careless.
Yeah.
We know what's going to happen, but we just don't give a fuck.
Yeah. No, I have ran out of fucks to give.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I don't care.
On that note, you just sent me an article, an AP article about a Trump judge who,
Yes.
I read the whole article, which, God, it was so fucking boring, but I was like, we're recording today, I got to read the article, so I explain it in a good way. And basically, overtime for salaried employees was set to expire. So there's like expiration dates, right? And so currently it's set at like 44,000 or something.
Right.
And Biden, before he leaves, was trying to like bump that up to 58,000.
Yes.
So essentially, if you make $58,000 or less as a salaried employee, we're not talking about hourly workers, then you are eligible for overtime, which is amazing.
Right.
Because as a salaried employee in the past, I have worked overtime and not gotten any money.
Right.
But now this Trump appointed judge said no to Biden.
Right.
And is letting it expire. So it's going back to the Trump era of 38 or 35,000.
Something like that. It's under 40.
Yeah, it's 35.
Yeah.
So now you have to make 35,000 or less, which is like poverty
Nothing.
level,
Yeah.
okay, in order to be eligible for overtime. They just want us to work until we die.
Right.
They don't want us to have health care. They don't want us to get any sort of overtime compensation. They're trying to get rid of all unions.
Right.
Which I can't understand how anyone who's in a union would vote for Trump. Like, I understand people being like, I don't want to vote for either, but I don't understand how you would choose Trump over anyone.
I see a lot of people voting against their own interests.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've realized that. But they will
Yeah, they
soon.
will. Yeah.
You know, and I don't care when they do. Good luck.
Right. So in 2016, I was less of the I don't care. But now I'm like, y'all fucking did this to yourselves.
Right.
Like, what?
This is what you wanted. Here
we
you
sound
go.
like such bitches. But listen.
Well, that's on you. I've always been one. I'm good with that. You know, they keep telling me, aren't you guys the oh God, what is it, like turn the other cheek party? I said no.
Oh, like look the other way.
Right.
Like,
I
take
said,
the higher road.
that might be other people.
Jennifer's like,
I've
no,
never been
no.
that person. I'm like, if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back and harder.
Mm-hmm. My daughter recently got into a bus altercation in which the bus driver put it to me this way. She was like, your daughter was the first to strike.
Good for her.
I was like, she had a reason. And the bus driver was like, yeah, you're right. She did have a good reason.
High five. We're going for ice cream.
She did not get in trouble. Just, the other person in this fight was 2 years older than her. Yeah. So I was like, good for you, honey.
Yeah.
Like and she was sticking up for herself and her friend.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Was this the younger or older?
The younger girl was sticking up for she was younger. And so she was sticking up for her friend who was also in second grade. And there was a fourth grade bully.
Yeah. What the hell?
I know. I was like, this is... And they all wanted to discipline. The bus garage wanted to discipline all of them. The bus driver was like, nope, no one's getting disciplined. We're just going to switch the seats up. But she was like, your daughter struck first. I was like, damn right she did.
Good for her.
I know her.
That's right. And guess what? That's what we're going to be doing. I told my girls now, because have you seen the whole Your Body, My Choice?
Yeah, so much shit is coming out. And it was like, who came out and was like, he's receiving a bunch of pushback for that.
His name is Nick Fuentes.
Okay, and he was like, Your Body, My Choice.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, they doxed him now.
Yeah.
And now he's living in his mother's basement again.
Oh my God.
But I told my girls, I said, anybody tells you that shit, I said, you break dicks. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
You don't take that shit from anybody, which that was my attitude before anyways. But now
don't
I'm
mess
like,
with Jennifer or her kids.
I'm like, yeah, we're...
Well, no, and you know what? You bring up a really good point, because for a very long time, and still now, the Democratic Party, even when I was running my campaign, not that I was like running as a Democrat, but I only had the support of the Democrats.
Right.
I didn't have the support from anyone else when I was running a nonpartisan school board campaign. But like they always like played by the rules and did the right thing, and the Republicans never played by the rules. Like their Republican school board candidates broke so many rules and like sent out mailers like that had literal lies about me.
I remember.
And we never sent out mailers with literal lies about them, because we, took the high road.
Yep.
And that never works. Not saying that we should like all, like break dicks and lie about each other. I do think breaking dicks is important in certain
if it's warranted.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying we're going to go around just breaking everyone's dick. But
Right.
if you come to me and you say, your body, my choice, that's a rape threat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can fuck right off.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And what you're saying is harassment. So like, and we are going to see, unfortunately, like we did in 2016, an uptick in harassment and hate crimes and discrimination. And we've already seen it with the text messages being sent on to Black people as young as 12 or 13 years old saying, like, be ready to go to the, like, plantation.
Right.
And have your bag packed to get ready to pick cotton at, you know, at so-and-so plantation. Like, the last I heard on that, it was being investigated. I don't know if they caught the people who did it. You'd think that, like, the CIA would be able to, like, find out who sent these messages.
You would think, but it took us almost, a year to find the kid, the 12-year-old that was sending bomb threats to our schools.
He was in what state? Like, North Carolina?
Something like that.
He wasn't even that far away.
But it took them like a year to track it down.
At least they found him.
Because they literally thought it was like adults with like burner phones
in
and
different
stuff
countries.
And like doing high-tech shit.
They were like, oh, it's from Brazil. No, it was North Carolina and he was 12. Yeah. It's crazy how it takes... I don't know anything about technology or like IT security, okay? But like, we are living in a time where like we're sending rockets to space for fun.
Right.
Like, you'd think we'd be able to figure this shit out.
Yeah, I was like, how do you not know who it is yet?
Yeah.
And okay, when it was the whole like, well, maybe they're using like burner phones and doing all this high-tech stuff, I was like, okay, well, maybe. But when I found out it was a 12-year-old, I'm like, you guys really couldn't catch him that week?
Did he do like all of these, like around the whole country?
I'm not sure if he did around, he has something like 46 charges.
Oh, so, well, the last I heard it was like, they thought one person was responsible for all the calls around the country. And man, that was a terrible year. Like, it was the end of the year and parents were freaking out.
Yeah, we kept our kids home a bunch of times.
Yeah, so did we. But it was the end of the year and like they were sick anyway. I was like, well, one of you is sick, so all three of you are sick home anyway. But anyway, yeah, what were we talking about?
I forgot.
Oh, we were talking about breaking dicks.
Yes.
So, and like all the shit that's happening.
The text messages that were...
Yeah. And all there's a lot of anti-Semitism showing up now. Like, there's Nazi rallies. Yeah. Like, not all over the country, but like, there are examples of bigotry popping up all over the country in the same way that happened in 2016. Because these people are being given permission to be assholes. Yeah. To be racist, sexist, just terrible people. And I don't know what that's going to look like. And that's scary. And, you know, I think we're all a little bit scared.
Yeah. And I think it's hilarious, like, haha, not really, that they'll call us mean because we're saying, we don't want to be friends with you if you voted for Trump. Yeah. And they're like, that's so intolerant of you. Yeah, right. And I'm like, where is that energy for the Nazis walking around? There, you're just like, oh, I don't know about that. I haven't seen them.
Doesn't make sense.
That's okay with you? That's why we don't want to be friends with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so, you know, it's scary, it's sad, all of that, whatever, but like, I'm trying to like focus on the positive things. And abortion, speaking of women's rights, did pass in like 4 states because those states didn't have the 60% or more because they're normal. They have normal constitutions. Right. We have a fucked up constitution where you have to get 60% of the vote.
Which is not, that doesn't make sense.
It's so crazy because we would have gotten it here in Florida because we had 57% of voters.
Almost 58.
Said yes to abortion. Yeah. But anyway, there's 4 other states that passed similar laws in their states. So, if you look at the trend in terms of just abortion rates, like it's going in the right direction. And hopefully by the time our granddaughters are, adults, it will be a different world. Yeah. But that's just me being optimistic. Yeah, yeah. And I have to. Like, I have to hang on to hope. And I saw somewhere in this, like, overwhelm of communication that outrage is not activism. Right. And I have to remind myself that. Like, look apathy in the eye and say, not today, apathy. And remember that outrage is not activism.
Yeah, that's true.
So what can we do? Well, we can contact our Republican senators and tell them not to nominate or not to confirm these fuckers.
Right.
That's all we can really do. Right?
Yeah.
And so the fuckers that I'm referring to, you know of a few and I know of a few, right? Who's at the top of the list for you? Who do you think is the most outrageous right now in Trump's cabinet picks? Which, by the way, most presidents, if not all, take weeks to decide who goes in the cabinet.
Right.
Trump has got like almost a full list, and he had these picks already, and they're all based on loyalty.
Exactly.
They're not based on experience or skill. It's all based on loyalty. Like, oh, who's going to lie for me? Who's going to break laws for me? Who's going to stick by me?
And we knew that because he has said that from the get-go.
Yeah, and he did it in 2016. But it's worse now.
Yeah.
Because he has experience, and he's had this Project 2025 plan, and he's got a whole plan of shit that he's going to do.
So from the list that I've seen, obviously the one I'm most familiar with and just annoyed with is Matt Gaetz.
Everybody hates Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
If there's one nomination that I think isn't going to be confirmed, it's Matt Gaetz. Because all the Republicans in the House, which that's another sad story.
Right.
Republicans have the trifecta. They have the presidency, they have the House of Representatives, and they have the Congress. I don't know if I'm saying that the right way, but it's a trifecta of bullshit.
Right.
But yeah, so the House has to confirm Matt Gaetz. Just because the president nominates someone, not Elon Musck, because he just created a new position for him. So I think he can do whatever he wants. But doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. And Matt Gaetz is like hated among all Republicans.
Yeah.
He's just like, I think he's just really hard to talk to.
Is he?
And like, he just argues with you all the time. According to these Republicans. And so like one guy was like, he's like implying that he's not going to be confirmed. He's like, I'm just going to pull up a chair and get a big bucket of popcorn and watch this happen because, you know, there's no way that they confirm him.
Really? My idea is they're not going to want to piss off Trump.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just saying there are so many Republicans out there. But, you know, a defense mechanism that sometimes my husband even has is, and I've noticed this, is that someone, like if you have this outrageous idea and you're scared that it's actually going to happen, a defense mechanism will be like, oh, no, that's crazy. That'll never happen. That'll never happen. That'll never happen. And then it happens. And then you just pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people have that defense mechanism. So, like, these Republicans could be like, shit, this is not good. Because Republicans aren't evil. I mean, not all of them. Jennifer's like, there are some good ones out. Like, the Republican...
Before, I would agree with you.
Yeah,
now I'm like,
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. There are Republicans in the House that are like, no, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But you're right. They're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, I think that's the issue.
They're going to get fired.
Right. They know that if they're not loyal to him, he's going to sabotage them.
There is no, like, this is my defense mechanism kicking in here. There's no president like Trump. And when he dies, I hope to God that there's not another Trump. Like, because there's no president that people are so scared to say no to. That's a dictator.
He's always had a dictator like mentality.
It doesn't make sense.
Like, that's his goal. I don't care what anybody says or whatever.
He's a
that
cult
has
leader.
Always been his goal. Yes.
And America is following the cult leader.
Yes.
So you always hear those stories like, I would never get sucked into a cult, you know. But here you have the biggest cult leader of all time.
It's wild to me. Like, I don't consider myself super intelligent, but I'm like, how are other people who I thought were intelligent falling for this?
So I asked that question to my husband, who listens to a lot of like political podcasts. He reads a lot. Like, he's very well informed, right? But we kind of have been disagreeing on this. Like, we haven't reached an agreement. We're just like, okay, let's just agree to disagree at this point. But I'm like, everyone's stupid. And he's like, well, yes, a lot of people are stupid, but also everyone hates the Democratic Party. And I'm like, no, I think it's more just everyone's stupid.
Right.
He's like, no, it's more that the Democratic Party sucks. And I'm like, no, because, like, I'll take the Democratic Party over this any day. And a lot of people would. And he's like, yeah, and those people voted for Kamala. The people that didn't vote for Kamala, right, which he didn't vote for Kamala, but he told me he would have if it had mattered.
And it wouldn't have here.
It wouldn't have mattered in Florida. And so if we were in, like, you know, an actual swing state, which... you know, we thought Pennsylvania was a swing state. It might not be now. I don't know. Then he would have voted for Kamala, but he said he voted for Claudia, something or other, because she actually would bring change to the middle class and to the war in Palestine. And I don't know, all these things that, like, the Democratic Party is just sort of, like, in the middle about.
Yeah. It would be nice if third parties got as much attention as, you know.
And that's what's that comedian's name again?
George Carlton.
That's what George Carlton said.
Yeah.
He said, because that back in the 80s was when it like officially sank in that there were just two parties.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Green Party was like, and at some point it was, that's Jennifer's alarm. I don't know what it's for. Is it to wake up?
Know. Yeah.
It's to wake up. She's awake. But no, yeah, the Green Party, like, used to be, it was never close to actually winning. But, like, yeah, if you look in the history, like, there have been all kinds of different parties besides Republican and Democrat. So.
And I think that, until we get rid of the two-party system, but it's like we never can.
But I feel like the only way to do that is, like, to vote for a third party. But then there's so many candidates out there that we just spread them all out. And it's, I think Bernie Sanders tried to be the Democratic Socialist.
Yes.
And that would have been the best case.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would have jumped on board for him.
Yeah, if he would have stayed in the race when he lost the Democratic nomination, if he would have stayed, I think he could have shaken things up. Yeah,
he could have shaken things up. He wouldn't have won, and that was when it was Hillary, and so Trump would have won anyway.
Yeah.
But it would have shown our country that you can have three parties.
Yeah.
And we would have, we would have replaced Bernie Sanders with someone similar, like AOC, which is a bad example because, I don't know, I used to be a big fan of AOC, but I think with the whole war in the Middle East now, she's just proving to be another middle-of-the-road Democrat.
Yeah.
Whereas Bernie came out, he was kind of doing the same thing, but he recently came out and was like, we need to stop this.
Right.
And that is why... we lost Michigan.
Yeah.
All the Palestinian voters in Michigan. I don't know if they voted for Trump or if they just didn't vote.
Right.
I mean, they probably just didn't vote.
Yeah. I did see, I know that, I mean, I think I heard somewhere that a lot of people who were pro-Palestine didn't vote or, voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. But that it wouldn't have made a difference. Like,
yeah.
It would have still gone to Trump
even
regardless.
If we had gotten Michigan, we wouldn't have won because we lost Pennsylvania.
But I'm always still confused with this because obviously I am pro-Palestine, but I didn't like how Biden handled it.
It was pro-Israel.
Yes, but so is Trump.
Yeah, no, that's what I don't get. That's what
I felt like confident that we would have better luck with
Kamala.
Thank you. I'm like, there's too many names right now going in my head.
Right.
Then Trump is not going to do anything.
Yeah,
he doesn't care for brown people.
Right. And that's what I don't get. And I think it doesn't make sense to me, but I think ultimately, people just didn't vote or they voted for third parties. And on top of that, we didn't talk about this. Trump won largely in part, or he maybe couldn't, and we don't know because statistics and analysis is still coming out.
Right.
But he won a lot of the male Hispanic vote.
Yes.
And
so mad about that.
Why do you think? Because I'm friends with a Peruvian lesbian, and she's awesome, and she was talking, she really followed this and she voted for Kamala, but she gave me her 2 cents on it, and it makes sense to me, but why do you think he got that vote?
Okay, so with Hispanics, I think we have a lot of issues. For one, I think a lot of them, when they become U.S. citizens, tend to forget where they came from. Mm-hmm. I see that a lot with the people that I know. Mm-hmm. They love their culture, but now they're like, oh, well, you know, I'm here, but I don't want anyone else coming, which is like such bullshit, mm-hmm. and it really enrages me. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing. We have a lot of colorism within the Latin community. Mm-hmm. And then I think, God, I don't even know. Religion. We have a lot of Christianity mm-hmm. Within the Hispanic community, and a lot of the Christians that I know voted for Trump, which again, I don't understand mm-hmm. how that can happen. How they can view this man and be like, yes, he's Christ-like.
And that's not just with Hispanics. That's just across the board Christians. But that's a whole nother like hours worth of discussion.
But I think that like a lot of the Hispanics that I know are very, very religious.
And conservative.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
they're like, and not anti-LGBTQ, but like they see trans as like an anti-Christian movement.
Right.
And very much into gender roles.
Yeah.
And that's what my Peruvian friend said too. That these, you know, Hispanic men were like afraid that women were going to get too much power or that trans people were going to take over.
Yeah,
bullshit.
They fell for that whole fear of trans people taking over, of just, you know, like we have a lot of toxic masculinity mm-hmm. in the Hispanic culture, mm-hmm. and they want that traditional mm-hmm. marriage, you know, where women are home mm-hmm. taking care of the kids and
it's
and
male and female.
Yeah.
And that's, and I mean, there's nothing really to talk about in terms of the white man vote, except for, I guess to me it's a little disheartening and surprising that so many young white men voted for Trump. So not super surprising, but like very disappointing.
Right.
So, because you know you hope to see a shift.
Yeah.
Like as these like older, misogynistic, like racist generation starts to die off. Yeah. Like you hope it gets replaced with a little bit. But maybe we just can't see it because we're like so thick in the weeds.
Right.
Maybe like the shift is happening. We just can't see it.
I don't know. That's
my hope.
I will say though, props to black women, black men, because they came through. They did what everyone else was supposed to, and I feel bad because they feel like, come on, like we can't carry the team every single time. Exactly,
and that's just what ended up happening again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Blake's argument for how the Democratic Party is failing. It's like, you cannot just rely on black women to win the race.
Right.
Like, you have to have policies and, you know, like your platform, like your presidential platform has to be enticing for all groups.
Right.
You know, you have to, and even then it's like, they're still so middle of the road.
Yeah.
And they need to move to the left because that's, I mean.
But they're afraid to do it because then they'll lose the middle people.
And that doesn't, you're not going to get the middle people.
They flake on us all the time anyways.
Yes, you're not going to get the middle people. In the middle, like that was like when I was running for school board, I was kind of had the same idea. I was like, well, but ultimately I did go a little too far left and didn't win. So maybe this isn't a good example, but like I did try to like get some of the middle vote, and I think I did.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. I think they lied, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna vote for you," but I don't think they did. I think they just didn't vote.
Right. Could be.
But yeah, I don't. That's kind of the flip side of the coin. Is like, well, here I am like going so far to the left, and then it just doesn't matter because like if you look at Flagler as a microcosm for, you know, not only Florida, but the country.
Yeah.
Like, this is a Trump county, right? And there are just a surprising amount of conservative people that are selfish.
So selfish.
Not super smart, okay? And they cannot imagine a black woman as their leader.
Right.
So that's where me and Blake have been disagreeing. You know, it's like, I think people are not only stupid, but selfish and racist and sexist. Yeah. We'll just go with the S's. Selfish, sexist, and stupid.
The isms.
Yeah. or the isms. And he's like, no, it's because the Democratic Party is stuck. So I'm like, yes, I agree that the Democratic Party needs to improve. But ultimately, I think Trump won because we are a sexist, racist country.
Yeah.
And stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hello. More than half of the country reads at a 6th grade reading level or below.
True. Yeah.
More than half.
Right. And here Blake is like saying like, oh, people want more and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they don't think like you. They're not as smart as you. They're not thinking on the same level as you. They are thinking, black women, no, not good. Like, that's all that's going through their head.
And they fell for the whole DEI hire, the woke agenda, you know? And so they're like, she's only there because she's black and a woman. You know?
She slept her way to the top.
And she slept her way to the top.
If I could sleep my way to the top to be the president, sign me up. Where do I figure that out? Because, like, I can get some shit done.
There would already be a female president, a woman in charge.
I couldn't sleep with Elon Musk.
Ugh, no.
Let's talk about him.
I said the same thing. Like, there's not enough money.
What in the world is wrong with that guy? Listen, I want to be inclusive, and he's probably neurodivergent, okay?
Yeah.
But that is not an excuse for him being such a huge selfish asshole.
Yeah.
But I've been talking to some people, and they're like, he's super autistic.
I can see that. Yeah. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Just goes to show you can be anything, and you can be autistic and you can be super nice, and you can be autistic and you can be a huge asshole.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily the autism that has to do with it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because, like, have you seen pictures of him jumping on stage?
I think I did.
Do you know what he's doing? No. He's trying to make his body into an X. Okay? For
oh my
X.
God.
I know. It makes you feel sorry.
He's very cringy.
Yes.
He is very cringy.
Yes. And did you see the new logo for the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which happens to also be the name of his cryptocurrency? I don't know how you pronounce it. It's like Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, Dogecoin, Elon Musk's cryptocurrency, and Department of Government Efficiency, okay? Not a coincidence, Jennifer.
Yeah, no.
So he is nominated, or not nominated, because this cabinet seat doesn't exist.
So they created a special one just for him.
It's a special seat.
How much did that cost him?
Boy. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Because, he is the biggest donor, I'm sure. But his involvement could be obviously seen as a conflict of interest due to his ownership in SpaceX, Tesla, and other energy solutions, right? And this, to me, is the most just, like, disgusting and outlandish. I don't want to call it a pick because it's not really a pick. It's just a brand new department that would have to be created by the House of Representatives in Congress, but they're not going to do that. So Trump is just going to let him do whatever he wants, which is almost like worse.
Yeah. There are no checks and balances anymore.
Yeah. Or we'll see because we got 4 years, right?
Yes,
so we'll see. I'm kind of pessimistic about the checks and balances, right?
Yeah.
But people like Blake are out there saying there's checks and balances.
I haven't seen them though. Not even like during Biden's term.
I know.
He's just been able to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Not Biden, Trump.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, he was convicted,
but he could still run for president.
I know.
Like
that's something I wonder if that will ever change. And now he has immunity.
Right.
Which is fucking crazy. But he does still owe money to that woman that he raped, which
Carol,
yes.
Eugene?
Yes.
No.
Why did the first Carol that came to my mind was Carol Baskin, and it's not Carol Baskin?
This is giving back 2020 vibes.
Yes. Oh my God. Please don't bring me back. Jennifer, I can't do it. Oh my God. Oh, back to what? Because I was starting to say, like, what can we do so that we don't go crazy? We can contact our politician, like our state representatives, and say, oh, I already said that.
Yeah.
We can say, don't, like, confirm these guys, but also we can contact our Democratic senators and say, here's all the shit you guys can get done before you lose control of the House. So we got to figure out how we can do that.
I did see someone say, like, I hope Dark Brandon comes out and he just starts doing, like,
Dark Brandon?
Yeah.
Well, who's that?
Biden.
Oh, that. Wait, so what would Dark Brandon do?
Like, before his term is up, like, he just passes whatever laws he wants to and just...
Oh, hold on. I'll pause it so that we can let the doggy out. And I have to pee anyway. And we're back. Okay, so you were telling me about Dark Brandon, which I'm just, for the first time, learning is Donald Trump. So you're saying...
No, it's Biden.
Oh, it's Biden. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. It's still early. I've only had one cup of coffee. No, fuck that. I wish he would do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. Like, there's so much time for the Democrats, whatever, to get shit done.
Right.
Are they going to do it? Who the fuck knows? I don't know. We'll let you know.
That's where we go back to where they're too soft on things.
Yeah. Dark Brandon, duh. I was like, wait, how is that Trump? Yeah, so do you think maybe Dark Brandon was like, what, like, I think the closest thing that he came to was the overtime.
Maybe,
Because another thing a lot of people are saying, a lot of the diehard Democrats are like, he's such a good president, he did all this stuff, blah, blah. And then you have the other Democrats that are like, he didn't do shit, he's going to be the worst president in history.
Right.
And I'm like, hold on, I didn't know that. Like, did you know that he was going to go down as one of the worst presidents?
That I didn't know, no.
I don't necessarily believe it, but it's one of those things where, like, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
But I do know that, like, Trump is inheriting a really healthy economy.
Right, so how could he be that bad?
I don't know. I do know that, like, the president doesn't have, like, direct control of the economy.
Right.
But I do think the president obviously influences the economy. But this goes back to, like, the checks and balances that we have. Like, the president can't, like, just do things alone.
Right.
There are certain things the president can do, like expand the fucking Supreme Court.
Which that's what they were saying. He needs to do that before he leaves.
Yeah, and he won't.
He won't. Yeah.
So.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Anyway, what else? Oh, we were talking about Elon Musk's and his Doge or whatever. We'll post this in the show notes, but he came up with a logo for the Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
It's a fucking cartoon dog.
Oh my god.
Because Doge sounds like dog.
With the silent E, I guess.
First of all, I don't think dog when I see Doge. I think cryptocurrency.
Right.
And it's like it's like Chase from Paw Patrol is what it looks like.
Oh my god.
Or more like Tracker from Paw Patrol.
I want off the simulation.
It's crazy. So far we've only talked about Matt Gaetz and Elon Musk. You said there's a guy named Pete Hegseth.
Yes. And so this is what I know about him. He is in charge of Department of Defense, I guess. Mm-hmm. Hold on, let me confirm that. Defense Secretary. Secretary
of Defense, yeah. So he is appointed to be the Secretary of Defense, but he has to be confirmed.
And so he is, he's made several comments about women not being in the military and how they're not good at it and how all they do is cause problems. So, yeah, to me that's problematic.
Yeah.
But of course, he was a Fox and Friends
that's right.
host.
Yeah.
So
very loyal to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any traditional experience in defense policies because he was a former Army officer and then a Fox and Friends host. So he's not qualified for this job at all. I've read in some places that this appointment might blur the line between military policy and media influence, since he was a Fox and Friends host, potentially leading to decisions influenced by political loyalty rather than strategic defense interests, which makes sense. Like, loyalty, we keep coming back to loyalty. Like, it's not about loyalty. It's about, actual, the best interests of our country.
Right.
It's not about being loyal to fucking Trump and Fox News and Republicans. It's about protecting our interests as a country. So that is very problematic.
Which again goes back to leaning towards a dictator. It's scary for me.
Yeah. And speaking of not being qualified, we didn't talk about Matt Gaetz' qualifications.
Oh yeah,
He was as Attorney General. Okay, Attorney General. He has 2 years of being a lawyer outside as soon as he graduated college. So he's still a baby.
And no courtroom experience, right?
No, he's just 2 years of being a lawyer, and then And that's it. Oh, and, you know, of course, he's got experience being a sex trafficker.
Right.
So
he's got experience as a plaintiff.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe that's where they see it. But yeah, the fact that, like someone with no moral standings at all, like, he has no more... He shows pictures of naked women to his peers on the Senate floor or whatever, and brags about his sexual conquests.
With a 17-year-old, right?
I mean, and there are actual, like, records showing that he sent Venmo payments to some middleman who sent them to underage girls. And there's, like, connections, like, with his name and saying, oh, it's for, like, books or school or something. And
then
the girls even said, like, no, we had sex with Matt Gaetz for $900.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be the attorney general.
And he asked for a pardon.
Yes.
For that.
Well, at first he just wanted the pardon. And then Trump's like, I'll do you one better. You want to be the fucking attorney general. He's like, I was just asking for a pardon, but yeah, I'll be the attorney general.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, so who knows? We got to follow that story. We'll see how that works out. Because there are still a lot of people that would like to see justice served.
Yeah, of course.
So
he also has this weird relationship with his adopted son. Ooh. Have you seen that?
No.
It's very weird. Like, he's very young. And his adopted son is not a young kid. It's like a 16-year-old.
Oh.
It was...
And do they, like date women together or something? Like, go on double dates? Some weird shit like that?
I have no idea. I
He's
just know
such a creep.
It was very weird. Like, why would you adopt an older... Because he's not that old.
I don't know.
A younger...
Especially someone who doesn't have any moral ground to stand on.
And then you adopt, like, this 15, 16-year-old.
Seems fishy.
Talk about him as, like, your adopted son. It was really sketchy.
Yeah. And his hair is very sketchy, too.
Very sketchy.
It's, like, 6 feet tall.
Yeah. He's just overall...
Yeah. He's, like, this creepiest guy.
They're all so cringe.
I know.
They're all so cringe.
I know.
And I know they'll be like, well, you're fat. Nobody cares about your opinion. Trust me... You would care.
Yeah. Well, and then there's RFK. He's super cringe.
Another...
So
weird.
Such an embarrassment to the Kennedys. Like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Like he was quoted saying, well, first of all, a county in Florida just took all the fluoride, or decided to take all the fluoride out of the drinking water based on something that RFK said. And so now all these people, I don't get it. People have some semblance of power, right? And now all these other people, like in local governments, are like, oh, we're gonna just copy everything and like not have critical thinking skills of our own, and not like pay attention to all the research that shows that fluoride prevents tooth decay and doesn't harm you at all.
Right. I haven't paid too much attention to RFK. I thought he was a joke, right?
I have.
So I don't know much about him, but I never got the impression that he was like qualified to give nutritional advice. So what are his qualifications?
Yeah, let me look that up. I don't know his background, but I do know that he was trying to be a part of the Harris administration.
Yeah,
and Harris was like, no, I'm good. So then so it's interesting because he wanted to be part of the Harris administration first. Then he went over to the Trump administration. So, like, he just wants power.
And not very loyal of him.
He is described as an American politician, environmental lawyer, which is very scary, and I'll tell you why, anti-vaccine activist, and conspiracy theorist. And so he has been nominated to serve as United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. So I think most people know him as, like, an anti-vaxxer.
Okay. But so he has no experience with anything medical, or like, what experience do other people who have had that title?
I think they're actual doctors.
Okay, right. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And same with, I don't want to act like I know what I'm talking about here, because like we are new to politics. Yes. And like we're new to I just learned like what it meant to like be nominated and then confirmed and like all that stuff. But what I do know is that in this position, RFK could ban chemicals, like pesticides used by farmers. Oh. And so this could be really problematic. And I was reading, and I'll put this in our show notes, but like there was a farmer who was like, I don't know, she was like head of some things, but she's a farmer, okay? And she was like, she said, electing RFK is like a huge middle finger to the farming industry.
Wow.
Because he has been quoted saying like he's going to ban certain chemicals like pesticides. If he bans pesticides, then we don't have food to eat. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, sure, you can go to the store and you can buy organic grapes, okay? But there are not a lot of organic grapes because it's really hard to grow organic things in mass quantities.
And organic everything is expensive.
Super expensive. So people, you know, for whatever reasons, don't buy organic because they can't afford it, right? Is the main reason.
Right.
But he's like thinking, I don't know what the fuck he's thinking, but like by banning these pesticides, like we would have food shortages.
Right.
And it's really scary to think about. Like, he wants to get rid of vaccines and ban pesticides. He doesn't want to. And meanwhile, it's a complete contradiction to 2016 Trump, who was like, oh no, all the pesticides.
Right. No regulations.
Right. Which was actually a bad thing. And I know this. I don't know much about politics and policies, but I do know this because as a educational writer, I'm currently writing a whole project on pesticides, and I've been reading about the changes that Trump made and then Biden reversing those changes, which again, like, I don't think he's that terrible of a president because he did reverse a lot of Trump policies.
Maybe that's what people don't understand is that he was just cleaning up the mess.
I don't think he's the worst president.
I don't think so either.
Like, I don't think he's like, we haven't had a super good president, honestly.
Right.
But anyway, back to RFK. It's contradictory because Trump wants to just say yes to all the chemicals because that means more money.
Right.
Right. And that was bad because then you've got these workers that are exposed to chemicals that leave them blind and burn off their skin. And that's why these chemicals have been regulated and banned. Right. But then, you know, Trump unbanned them and then Biden rebanned them. Right. And now is Trump going to unban them or is RFK going to ban more? There's a very happy medium here. Right. Where we have not a bunch of blind farm workers and we have enough food to feed everybody. Like, it's not as simple as people think.
Yeah, no.
And so, you know, you've got, do you have any friends that are like crunchy moms?
Well, I have one, like a Facebook friend that I've had for like 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually a little annoyed with her because in the group that we're in, they mentioned politics, and she said she was thinking of voting for Trump because of RFK. And I was like,
I know some people like that.
I'm so upset. Like because I've unfriended a lot of people, like family. And I'm like, I don't know exactly where she ended up voting. So I'm like, do I unfriend her? I'm still like really miffed about this RFK thing.
So here's my take on that, because like similar situation. It's almost like, it's like you're naive is, I don't want to be insulting, but it is a little bit of naivete or naivete. I don't know how you say that word. But so it's like, yeah, I would love to live in a world where there were no pesticides, right? Where you could go to the store and you could buy organic, and the only option was organic food, right? And you weren't worried about like giving your kids poison, and like when you gave them vaccines, you weren't like wondering what was in the vaccines, like, but that's just goes back to not trusting science. So basically, you're choosing: are you going to trust science? And you have to trust or put your faith in something, like just like with religion, you put your faith in God. Like, you do have to put your faith in science, and that like scientists are out there trying to create a better world, because that is what science is about. In terms of like creating these vaccines that like eradicate polio, okay, and all that. So those people that are I feel like they're being duped by RFK.
But the thing too is, okay, if you want to be crunchy, be crunchy. I don't want to be fucking crunchy.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is like we live in a country where there's choice, and like you may choose to not vaccinate your kids, and guess what? You have a luxury of not having to vaccinate your kids, because vaccinations have been around for decades to effectively eradicate these diseases. But as someone who puts their faith in science, I will vaccinate my kids so that 20, 30 years from now, polio doesn't come back.
Right.
But if there's a small group of crunchy moms that decide not to vaccinate and only buy organic food, that's great. But if our whole country did that, we would be in deep shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
And I'm also torn too, because like the RFK's Wikipedia page says stuff about working with as like a river keeper and natural resources defense council, in which he, you know, did good things for the environment. So that's great. Like, you know, that's kind of like the good part about him is like he does care about the environment.
Okay.
And clean water.
Which is again contradictory because they don't believe in
2016
climate
Trump,
change.
Yeah, 2016 Trump reversed a lot of environmental policy. So it's very confusing.
So like he's gonna have RFK there, but I don't think he's gonna let RFK do any of what he wants to do because all his donors and all these businesses are gonna be like.
Well, here's a very important part that I should explain. He's nominated as the Secretary of Health and Human Services, which is going to be like pesticides, FDA regulations, vaccines, stuff like that. Then we have Lee Zeldin, former New York representative, to lead the Environmental Protection Agency. With a focus on rolling back environmental regulations. So there's so there's the EPA, and then there's apparently, again, this goes back to me knowing nothing about politics and cabinet picks, but then there's whatever RFK was nominated for, which is Health and Human Services.
RFK is gonna be more in charge of like
vaccines,
food and vaccines.
Yeah,
like what we're gonna be eating.
Well, I don't know about the food though, because EPA and like FDA and USDA.
Oh, that's a whole lot of...
So FDA is the Food and Drug Administration Association. I don't know. And then USDA is the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
And then there's Environmental Protection Agency. So all of those like sort of overlap when it comes to growing our fucking food. So it is very contradictory. It's going to be very interesting to watch because we've got one guy who's like, no chemicals at all. And then we've got another person that's like, all the chemicals. And it's like, well, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got the whole imports and tariffs where, you know, we get our bananas from a different country.
Right.
So we have to pay, again, it's not something I'm completely sure about, but like with a tariff, the country has to pay more. And so then the price of the item becomes a lot more to offset the tariff.
Yeah, like the person selling it is not going to eat the cost.
Right.
That's just common sense.
Right.
They're not. Like you know, think if I buy a product, if I sell a product and it takes me $10 to build this product, put it together, I'm going to sell it to you for $20. If now the parts are more expensive, I'm not going to keep selling it to you for $20 when I'm spending $15 to make it.
Yep.
I'm going to sell it to you for $25.
And we see that with other things, like you speak of common sense, like when there's a hurricane and more people need building supplies, you know, they're going to, that cost is going to go up.
Right.
Because they're going to have to work harder and longer to make more building supplies.
Right.
And so it doesn't really work out well for the people in the lower and the middle class that are trying to just like make ends meet.
No.
And keep their houses intact and food on their table. So,
we can't even get home insurance here anymore.
Yeah.
That's like through the sky.
So many things. But we have been talking about this for 58 minutes now.
Ooh, okay. And we've got hours and hours to go.
Yeah. But what we're going to do is continue reviewing banned books because y'all need to read more. Not y'all that are listening, but the country needs to read more.
Yes. Really quick, right? You know I'm big on, not me, I'm not big, but I'm very big on being on Book Talk.
Yeah.
So after the election, there was a huge, like, divide because a lot of the Book Talk girlies were like, if you vote for Trump,
fuck you.
Right. We're not friends anymore. And then the other girls were like, books aren't political. Like, we don't want book talk to be political.
Oh my God.
And so everyone's like, do you read? Are you understanding what you read, or are you just reading words and not like stringing them together?
Maybe they're just reading romantasy.
But even those have
really
political, yes. Everything has like a message.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Like a lot of romantasy, for instance, which is very popular. There's wars and like there's classisms and all of that.
Yeah, the classes, like the fairies in ACOTAR.
Yes.
And they were like the higher, and then what was the lower?
The humans. Oh,
okay.
or like the, I can't think of anybody right now, but for instance, like ACOTAR is very popular. Where like you voted for
the bad guy in ACOTAR.
The Hybern.
Hybern, King Hybern.
Yes, him. I'm like, that's who you voted for.
You voted for King Hybern. Oh my God. I love that you just explained that to me, because I didn't catch that, but that makes sense. But yeah. Books are really important. We don't read enough. I know the 20 people that constantly listen to this podcast probably read enough.
Yes.
But the people out there that, don't realize what's about to fucking hit them for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Read more books. Like the next book that I'm going to cover, I don't know what you're going to cover, but the next book that I'm going to cover is Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. And caste means like class. Right. So different castes of society, but it's really interesting because it's not necessarily about race, like in some places in America it is about race, but like the ancient Egyptians, for example, they were all Egyptian. Right. They all looked the same, but they were different castes. Like there were the pharaohs, and then there were the pyramid builders. Right. And so that kind of, the book's about that, but it also kind of explains how we got to be who we are as an oligarchy, which is a new word I learned. And we'll talk more about that word when I feel like I hear that word a lot when it's in reference to Russia. Well, Russia's an oligarchy, but in United States has always been sort of like, maybe we are, maybe we aren't. We are fucking definitely an oligarchy now. Okay. Now, maybe it was a question on November 4th. Then November 5th, it was confirmed that we are an oligarchy. And I'll tell you more about that when we cover Caste. Okay. And I think I'm going to do 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, because that's like the #1 banned book. Okay. And I have it and have wanted to read it, so. And we're going to have to talk about the NRA and what a Trump administration means to the NRA. Yes. And what it means to common sense gun laws. And we'll talk about what Biden has done, because I feel like he's done some shit. But, if Blake were here, he'd be like, he didn't do enough. And I don't disagree. But we'll talk more about that next time. So, remember, don't ban books. Ban bigots. This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer Mendoza and Courtney Green. Thanks for listening, and be sure to follow us at MILF for Books, that's MILF, the number 4, Books, on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And don't forget to help the show by rating us wherever you get your podcasts.